The sound of splintering wood shattered the silence. At 2 a.m., her front door flew open with a violent crash. And 4 men in dark uniforms stormed inside. Flashlights slicing through the darkness. "Hands where I can see them," one yelled. The woman froze, standing barefoot in her own living room. A robe wrapped tightly around her. Her voice trembled. "Who are you people?" The leader, a tall man with a fake-looking badge clipped to his vest, barked back, "We're HOA enforcement. You violated neighborhood security codes." He kicked aside a fallen picture frame without even looking down. Her eyes darted to the broken door, her heart pounding, but something about their uniforms didn't look right. No police insignia, no real equipment. Just cheap belts and shiny boots. "I didn't break any rule," she said quietly, trying to steady her breath. "You can't just barge into my home." "Oh, we can," the men sneered, stepping closer. "Your neighbors reported suspicious activity. You people think you can move here and ignore the HOA." That last line made her blood boil. "You people." She wanted to scream but didn't. Instead, she took a slow step back, her eyes shifting toward the wall behind them. The flashlight beam caught something, a navy blue FBI jacket hanging neatly on a hook. The embroidered letters glowed in the dim light. The man's voice faltered mid-sentence. His partner lowered his flashlight, staring at the jacket like it had just spoken. "Wait, that says FBI." For the first time, silence filled the room. The fake officer's hand dropped from his weapon. The woman stood taller, her fear melting into quiet control. "You sure you're with the HOA?" she asked softly. None of them answered. One of the men took a step back toward the door, his face pale. She tilted her head. "Calm now. If you're really who you say you are, you won't mind if I make a quick call." She reached for her phone on the table. The men didn't move. The sound of her fingers dialing was the loudest thing in the room. Then, from outside, the distant wail of approaching sirens began to echo through the night. Her lips curved just slightly. "That was fast," she said. To be continued. The sirens grew louder, slicing through the night air. Red and blue lights flashed through the shattered doorway, painting the living room in chaotic colors. The fake HOA cops stiffened like statues, panic flickering in their eyes. The woman didn't move. She stood in the middle of her wrecked home. Calm, almost cold. The leader tried to save face. "Listen, ma'am. There's been a misunderstanding. We were just responding to a fake complaint." She cut in, voice sharp but steady. "Or a fake badge." One of the men whispered, "We should go," but the leader shot him a glare before he could speak again. Real police officers flooded in, armed, focused, and nothing like the imposters. "Everyone put your hands where we can see them," one shouted. The woman raised her hands, not out of fear, but to watch justice unfold. The fake HOA men hesitated, looking trapped. One officer grabbed the leader's arm, yanking the counterfeit badge off his vest. "This isn't even real," he said flatly. "Who sent you?" The men didn't answer. His jaw tightened. The woman finally spoke, her tone almost gentle now. "Check the HOA president's call logs. You'll find your answer." The lead officer glanced at her, puzzled. "Ma'am, how do you?" She interrupted with a faint smile. "Let's just say I used to work a little closer to this world than you think." The room fell silent again. Tension heavy as the imposters were cuffed and led out one by one. The real officers started taking statements. But she wasn't talking much, she was studying something on the leader's wrist. A tattoo. A small black symbol that didn't belong to any HOA or company. Her eyes narrowed. "That's not just neighborhood harassment," she muttered under her breath. "That's organized." The officer nearest to her turned. "What did you say?" "Nothing yet," she said, finally lowering her hands. "But I think you're about to find something a lot bigger than a break-in." She walked toward the wall and pulled down the FBI jacket. The fabric was old, but it still carried authority. She ran a thumb across the embroidered letters. then glanced at the shattered doorway. This wasn't random. Someone had sent them. Someone from inside the HOA. And she was going to find out who. The next morning, sunlight poured through the broken doorway like nothing had happened. But the quiet carried a strange weight. The woman, her name was Maya Grant, stood at her kitchen counter, sipping coffee while two officers finished their report. Her front yard was still taped off. Neighbors pretending not to stare from their windows. One officer, a younger guy with tired eyes, tried to sound casual. "Ma'am, we confirmed those men weren't police, not even security. Their badges were printed, cheap stuff from online." Maya didn't look surprised. "And the HOA president?" "Claimed he had no idea," the officer said, glancing at his notes. "But we checked his phone. There were messages with one of the suspects, something about making her leave before the meeting." Maya's jaw clenched. "So they were trying to scare me off my own property?" The officer nodded slowly. "Looks like it." She took another sip of coffee, her hand steady now. "They picked the wrong woman." Before the officers could respond, a black SUV rolled to a stop outside. A woman in a crisp gray suit stepped out, flashing a familiar badge at the police tape. The moment Maya saw it, her eyes narrowed. "Agent Lewis," she said, voice flat. The federal agent gave a small nod. "It's been a while, Maya." The cops exchanged looks. "You two know each other?" one asked. Lewis smirked. "Let's just say she didn't exactly leave the bureau on bad terms." Maya sighed, setting her mug down. "Why are you here, Lewis?" Lewis's tone turned serious. "Because the men who broke in weren't random thugs. We've been tracking a group, ex-contractors using fake HOA networks as cover for property takeovers. They target veterans, single parents, and..." She paused, meeting Maya's eyes. "Former agents who know too much." The words hung heavy. Maya crossed her arms, thinking back to that tattoo she saw the night before. So this wasn't just intimidation. It was a message. Lewis nodded. "And you're part of it now, whether you want to be or not." Maya looked at the destroyed doorway. The sunlight cutting across the floor like a line between past and future. She took a slow breath, then said quietly, "Then I guess it's time I stopped being retired." Her phone buzzed on the counter. A new text from an unknown number. "You should have left when we warned you. Tonight won't end the same way." Maya stared at the message, her reflection flickering in the cracked phone screen. Then she looked up at Lewis. "Tell your team to stay close," she said. "They're coming back." That night, the air felt heavier, like the neighborhood itself was holding its breath. Streetlights buzzed softly. And Maya sat by her window, lights off, watching the empty cul-de-sac. The broken door had been boarded up, but she didn't feel safe, she felt ready. Her old FBI training kicked in. She'd already rerouted her home security feed through a private server in synced motion. Alerts to her phone. Every car that passed, every shadow that moved, it was all recorded. Agent Lewis had promised to have surveillance nearby, but Maya knew better. "They'll come when it's quiet," she whispered to herself, loading a small handgun and setting it on the coffee table. "They always do." At 1:47 a.m., a faint crunch echoed outside, gravel under boots. Maya's heartbeat slowed instead of quickening. She turned off her phone's screen and listened. Another sound followed, a faint metallic click near the back fence. Then a whisper. Two voices. "They said the camera's on the east side," one murmured. "Cut the power first." Maya smiled faintly. "Wrong side." She moved silently through the hallway, the floor creaking just enough to sound natural. From the kitchen, she caught sight of two men crouched near the fuse box. Same tattoos. Same black gear. HOA symbols printed on fake patches again, bold, stupid, confident. But this time, she wasn't alone. A low rumble rolled in from the end of the street. Then headlights, 3 unmarked SUVs. She saw Lewis step out first, hand on her radio. The intruders froze mid-motion. One tried to run, but a red laser dot appeared on his chest before he could move 2 steps. FBI. Lewis shouted. Hands up. Now. Maya opened her door slowly. Her gun lowered, but her eyes locked on the leader of the group. The same man from last night. His smirk was gone. Back again. She said coolly. You forgot something. He sneered. You think this ends with us? Lewis moved closer. No, she said, it ends with who hired you. The men laughed bitterly. You'll never get to him. He's not just HOA. He is the HOA. Before they could press him further, one of the SUV's radios crackled. Ma'am. We've got movement at the HOA office, someone's wiping servers right now. Lewis turned to Maya, eyes wide. They're destroying evidence. Maya didn't hesitate. She grabbed her jacket from the hook, the same one that had silenced fake cops the night before, and zipped it up. Then we move now, she said. Before this whole neighborhood becomes a crime scene. The flashing lights painted her face in red and blue as she stepped past the agents. Determination written in every step. Whatever this was, it wasn't just about her anymore. Maya's car tore down the empty suburban streets. Tires whispering against the asphalt. Agent Lewis followed close behind. As both vehicles screeched to a stop outside the HOA office, a modern glass building that looked far too expensive for a neighborhood committee. Inside, the lights flickered. And through the glass they could see silhouettes moving fast. Someone was indeed erasing everything. Back door, Maya said, already out of the car. She didn't wait for backup. She sprinted around the corner, kicked the latch open, and stepped into a server room filled with humming machines and the faint smell of burnt plastic. A man sat at a terminal, typing furiously. Step away from the keyboard, she said, gun aimed steady. He froze but didn't turn around. You should have stayed retired, Agent Grant, he said quietly. Maya's stomach tightened. That voice. Familiar. The man turned slowly. It was Richard Hale, the HOA president. His face was calm, almost smug. You think you can stop this? The land you live on isn't even yours. It's owned by a shell company. We've been reclaiming properties for months. Maya took a step forward. Reclaiming? You mean stealing from families? He smiled faintly. It's not stealing if the system allows it. And I am the system. Lewis and her team burst through the front doors just then, weapons drawn. Hale barely flinched. You have no idea how deep this goes, he hissed. You'll never find the real files. Maya's eyes flicked to a hidden drive plugged beneath the desk, small. Silver, unmarked. You mean these? She said, yanking it free. Hale lunged toward her, but she stepped aside, slamming him into the glass wall. Lewis cuffed him as agents swarmed the room. You're done, Hale, she said flatly. But Maya didn't hear them. She was staring at the drive in her hand. This isn't over, she muttered. This goes beyond one HOA. The next morning, reporters crowded outside the now infamous neighborhood. Cameras flashed, headlines screamed. Fake HOA exposed, FBI sting uncovers. Multi-state property scam. Maya stood on her porch, the door finally repaired. Lewis approached, a soft smile on her face. You sure you don't want to come back in officially? You'd make one hell of an agent again. Maya shook her head. I think I can do more out here. Some wars start on our own lawns. Lewis chuckled. You always did have a thing for poetic justice. Maya looked out over the lake, her reflection clear in the calm water. Justice, she said quietly, isn't poetic. It's personal. A breeze lifted her hair as she glanced at the new security camera above her door. Peace had returned, but she knew it wouldn't last forever. Somewhere, another neighborhood was under attack by the same corruption. And when it did happen, she'd be ready. They thought they were breaking into my house. Turns out, they broke into an FBI operation.